Yeah, she treats it like open it like a regular meeting with a pledge of allegiance I have.
Make sure all the mics are on and the switchboard.
All right, we're good. I went live thinking we were starting.
I'll give you a rating. Just a reminder, the workshop will be no public comments. I'm fine with the addresses too, and you have to space in there. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening. So tonight is our budget workshop, so we'll get started on that. So our commission in your red book is to make representatives of the districts and welcoming the first community and the community.
There's two people. I want to come.
Parents for others. Our vision for the district.
Yeah.
Is to seek to empower each individual to embrace the day.
That's-
and navigate the possibilities of tomorrow.
That's the number.
Our reader profile. As a school district, community strives for each graduate to demonstrate these. Demonstrate empathy and compassion, think critically and problem solve, collaborate and communicate, engage in local and global civics, create and innovate, embrace diversity and talents and equities, and the physical and mental health. These are goals for 2024-2027 school years. These were developed through the strategic planning committee, which is across district members and co-workers. So under academics, working technology, disabilities, we provide rigorous, relevant student-centered curriculum, which reflects diversity, to prepare students for the global community. We use instructional practices that are responsive, we encourage communication, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. We will use technology in a meaningful and interactive manner to enhance student learning. Education will be timely, clear, and concise, respectful of the audience, and provide for successful delivery. We will be open to multiple perspectives, encourage respectful dialogue. The diversity and inclusivity is the goal. We will foster a comfortable, inclusive environment that embraces diversity and inequities, and ensure all students fit in these are affirmed and that they have access to high quality education. Health, social learning, partnership goals. Community members will foster the development of social and emotional skills, physical health, and interpersonal growth, resilience, and compassion to care for themselves and others. So this is our team. These numbers, curriculum structure, and staff development. And aids, personnel and operations, and standard, business and finance, and the Allison, pupil personnel, visitors, health, PE and athletics, working program, technology and communication. Right, storage, facilities and operations. In Surrey, Curcio, transportation, and crime, food service, Dr. Riley, Lynch, River High School, Stacey Smith, Paul Brown,
Yeah, it says-
middle school, running boys, versus property, road.
We gotta go through.
Well, we'll be presenting the preliminary budget at the next meeting. There are some items on my slide up here that are really important for the committee making budget considerations. It's something I get look at every year. And one of the items really are not in control of the district. So the first two items listed are for the revenue. We fund our school district primarily with taxes and also with state aid. We do know that for the next school year, the part of the tax cap calculation, it's a multi-step calculation of 9 steps. The part that's limited to 2% is the allowable property tax levy increase. That's actually tied to the inflationary factor. In 2025, inflation increased or the CPI increased of 2.7%, but we're only allowed to account for 2% in our calculation. The purpose of that is to help the taxpayers and these ways as again for inflation. But I think it's really important for everyone to realize that the school district is also subject to inflation. So original districts and increase of the cost of our rate, so the limit in the tax cap calculation is just another challenge that we have to live with in the budget. There's another item that's significant in the tax cap calculation that's not on the screen. It's information that I just received after we created the slides, but that's the tax-based growth factor. The tax-based growth factor is different for every school district, and for next year for rental, that's a 1.02% increase. That reflects changes in the actual tax base for new construction and improvements. It's not reflective of just increases in exceptions, but there's actually properties or increases in the property values due to improvements. The purpose of the tax-based growth factor is to allow school districts and governments to raise more revenues because of the physical change in the properties in the district. Foundation aid is the major part of state aid. It's actually unrestricted. School districts can utilize those funds for whatever operating costs they deem necessary. There are many other state aids, but most of them are either expense driven or designed for this. So overall, the near inflation is a 3% increase in foundation aid. However, most school districts, like 70% of us, are receiving in the governor's proposal the minimum increase of 1%. This is final. The legislature will still have to pass their budget. It's due by April 1st. And in my experience, the state members usually do change from the proposal that the governor submits to what's actually enacted. But for now, in our budget presumptions, we'll see some 1% increase. The other three items listed on the slide pertain to benefits. The first two are the pension systems. They're really a function of payroll because we're a public school district. Our employees belong to either the teacher's retirement system, which is the retirement system for teachers and all the other students have, or the employees retirement system, which is also known as the state local. Senior state and local retirement system, and that's for non-certified staff. Currently, in 2025-26, we'll be paying 9.9% for the pension. Next year, that's increasing. The rates here are listed between 8.25% and 8.75%. However, we learned this week that the rate will actually be 8.24% next year. So that will result in about $300,000 savings for the district. However, the employees retirement system is rate increasing from 16.5% to 17.6%. Early calculations show that increase would be about 100%. And the final is going to be the impact of the budget on the health insurance budget for the current year. We're going to be about $9.1 million, which is significant. We are budgeting for cost increases of 16%. That is really high due to rising prescription costs. However, it's not set yet either. We see most of our health insurances, which is the Dutchess Educational Health Insurance Consortium, and they don't set their rates until March. So I chose to use the 16% in the early calculations based on conversations that I had with folks. Thank you.
So, for curriculum instruction and staff development, in last year's goals, we have a lot of administrative initiatives start in phase 1. So those are all the areas that they started an initiative. We continued, did our staffing based on enrollment, did summer academy, curriculum mapping. We continue to do that when we're finished with that, 6 through 12, and we support professional development. Initiatives continue, let's move to phase 1. Now, American Inspires is a plan to transform education in New York State. They're looking to shift graduation requirements, and they have produced a portrait of graduates. We will continue to look at ours and theirs and see what needs to be updated. I'll work with the team and the schools to do that. We'll continue staffing based on enrollment. We'll audit all the courses that are in curriculum mapping and continue to fine tune that process. We do, as the board knows, new courses were proposed over the last few months. We have multiple pathways for graduation. And the high school will continue this discussion on winter circle, welding, Ivy literature performance, and the AP cybersecurity. Summer Academy 2026 will continue. We'll start that process in March. And we will continue to certainly focus on relevant professional development with future focused practices and to support the New York inspired practices. So that's what's happening in the world of curriculum instruction.
Next, good evening, everyone. So it's been a busy year for us. A lot happening in terms of our capital projects. As you know, we completed the high school gym renovation and new features. We continued design work for props 1 and 3, which was field work. So the field 1 between Linden Avenue and the high school, as well as the soccer field at the high school. All the plans have been submitted and they are passed through our construction review and our engineer review. We're waiting for the facility. Once that's done, our plan is to go into renovation. We are continuing to expand our e-fund according to the mandate. We did have 2 that we received last year. We had the proposition that approved 4 more. We're in receipt of 1. We expect the next 3 within the next couple of months to be put into service. So we're excited about that. We are still expanding our non-resident tuition program with our focus on Lansing Mill Road this year. And we've also, I mentioned Sam and I had applied for a grant that combines some business opportunities and regional partnerships with local farms as well as local school districts. So we continue to look at those grant opportunities. So hopeful that that comes through and we can have a food preservation program at the high school that will benefit. We have 7 local schools that are interested in partnering with us. So we're excited about that. We will find out about that in May. For next year, we'll continue capital project implementation. So that will include the field that I mentioned, a new track, working the kiln room at Lance, and bathroom upgrades in the high school and lighting, change over to LED lighting in both Mill Road and high school. We're looking at improving the technology infrastructure, which we talked about with Dr. Brady. As he puts in the welding certificate program, there's some work that we need to do. We're not waiting for we're hopeful to put in a capital project proposition for this May. along with designing and upgrading transportation facilities to accommodate both our new bus inventory and to improve employee safety and safety. I spoke about the regional food preservation program. We'll continue to look at opportunities for grant funding. And the other thing that Linda and I are working on with our financial planners is to develop a sustainable debt service budget so that instead of the debt service fluctuating, we have a set amount for capital projects every year that will maintain a steady debt service for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm here to talk about people personnel services. And to reflect on our 2025-2026 goals as well as our planning for 2026-2027. Although I was not here, we planned for our goals for this year. I can tell you where we are in terms of working on them. So we continue to work on focus here, social emotional support programs in collaboration with our effective school solutions. We continue to have a program at Lamb's Middle School and our high school program. Our high school program is currently full. Our middle school program is about 6 out of the 10 slots full. And we are working with ESS to support not only our families and ESS and students, but also they will be partnering with some of our parents as part of the workshop series to provide some professional development workshops around mental health support for our families. We are continuing to work on school to work opportunities for our special education students. We have continued to work with our XSVR pre-ECS program, as well as partnering with some of our incredible colleagues in services and potentially facilities and transportation and providing some work experiences for our students. We are continuing to work on creating a life skills department, community engagement experience. We'll talk more about that in the planning piece. We are continuing to use behavioral consultant support to not only provide training to our families, but also parent training and support, and we're providing that to our flex classes, as well as our students that classifications of autism spectrum. Each of our buildings continue to use therapy dogs. And we continue to offer different social and emotional learning opportunities, as well as mental health first aid training at different components. We continue to work on accommodating more out-of-district CSE requests by building capacity in our programs and making sure that we are letting you know from mountain to mountain that we have some space as well, what unique things that we can bring to our reps. We're in year 2 of our mental health grant, which is the final year. So we are right now looking at how we have utilized that funding and looking at our ESS programming and the data information that we have around it. And we are also reviewing how our pilot CPSC related service conditions continue to work. So for next year, we're looking at continuing to do a lot of these things. A big structure change for us would be to really build capacity in multisensory reading instruction and really trying to provide some additional training to staff, especially at the secondary level, so that we can provide those services and support to the students. We're also looking to strengthen foundations of co-teaching across our buildings so that we can kind of come to an alignment around things and back to foundations. Continue to work on IT quality and alignment of processes with procedure guides and additional training. We're continuing to expand support and consultation for our flex programs. We have consultants coming in now to bolster curriculum assessment and behavioral support. So we're looking to continue that so that we can keep more students in district and also be able to bring students in. Sustain and expand parent engagement initiatives. We're doing that now with parent partner series, and we'd like to continue that with parent input, providing engaging opportunities and topics that can support our community and family here. We're continuing to work on building a life skills department. We have some ideas in the works, and we're working very, very closely with John and Dr. Hayes to really bring that to action. We're looking at also broadening our special education continuum of services to make sure that we're offering a unique and deeply defensible continuum that provides the needs to all of our students across all of our buildings. We're continuing to pilot program. We'd like to continue to pilot program, the CPSC related service. We found it to be incredibly helpful, at providing mandated CPSC services as well as providing preschool support services in OT and speech and support in our kindergarten classrooms that are really helping us to support students and keep them out of special education because we're providing service to improving. And we'd like to continue exploring our partnership with Effective School Solutions to support the mental health needs of our.
Good question. Now that you've had a couple months to kind of get the lay of the land and split the land, maybe we can go back to your slide. Yeah. I was just curious, now that you had a chance to kind of hopefully make sure something on the things. What are the short list of things you're most focused on there? Between the biggest need for us to perhaps.
Yeah, so I think this is probably, I don't have short list. If you come into my office, you see there's this huge whiteboard that has like my brain pretty much on there. So I'm pretty solid at multitasking, and trying to kind of fit a bunch of plates at the same time.
Unfortunately, I have to have stuff.
I think one of the biggest pieces for me is building our capacity in multi-sensory reading. When I'm looking at priorities and targeting, I'm looking at trends, student needs, student data, and I'm also looking at what's happening in the region as well as what's happening south of us and what's about to come and hit us. And I think a major piece that we need to look at and be prepared for is probably providing multi-sensory reading instruction for those students that's required or needed based on their IEP or their learning disability. And so training, that takes time and that is an expense. Being able to kind of prepare for that, I think is something that puts us in a position and helps us do what's best for kids. I think for me, along with that, making sure that we provide a robust continuum across our buildings. So making sure we have lots of different options for students so that they can get the support that they need. So something that is very important and something that I hear our staff saying. And I think the staff voices as well as the parent voices are really important to listen to. So I try to kind of work and collaborate and honor that. I think in general, if you hear me talk, my big word that build capacity. We don't know where this budget even will come in the years going forward, in year and things like that. Many districts, but I know there's a lot of concern going forward. So my feeling is how do I build capacity and utilize the resources I have now to build these up so that we can prepare for the trends and students.
Thank you.
Evening. So as Dr. Ray said, we are finishing the gymnasium project, still doing punch list items kind of going through now. It was challenging. That's a space that we use quite often in the summer. Some of the delays pushed us into September. As far as when we received the space back. I think Bard College they helped us out with our volleyball teams in August by hosting us, which was great. A little issue with getting the bleachers squared away, but we were able to run events with some of our regular chairs. So thanks to the custodial department for having sat back. We put out 150 chairs. We were playing a volleyball match, so that was great. Pleased with the space. Get a lot of compliments on it. One of the things that did not like about the old space, those who had seen it, we had like 5 different shades of red. So we spent a lot of time trying to get everything to match nicely. Some of that was frustrating. Sometimes, some companies came back with some things that we didn't agree upon, but we got to where we needed to be. So Happy about the space. It's been great using it. Initially, I was concerned because we did obviously lose some seating space with the ADA compliance. But we've had some large scale events and everybody's had a seat. The student section has been great. Very frustrating for some of our teams who come to play against us, as we found out on a few occasions. But it seems to be well received by the kids. So I couldn't be happier at this point. So continuing down the line from last year, field one, that's inside the track, obviously, which we're gonna hopefully start this in a few weeks, which would be great. We'll talk about that in a bit. The design phase of the West Soccer Field, lacrosse stadium, again, coming up in the spring/summer. The timing and design, the potential of the East Soccer Field. So this is the field we had talked about in the past where, that's along the tree line where the septic system is. So one of the things we were talking about was, are we going to hook up to the sewer system from the town or not? I'm not going to get into how what's going on in the town and all that, but that definitely impacts that. That would be the ideal spot to do that last addition. And I realize we're looking down the road, but I know we're going to have those discussions in this year. So we'll see how that kind of plan pans out. Expansion of unified sports. One of the things I unified is new sport bowling. And when we had the bowling lanes right here in town, that would have been exceptional. However, when that was a useful running bowling alley, Rhinebeck, athletic director and myself went there, tried to create our own bowling teams, and they really did not have an interest, which was disappointing. So to try and expand unified, like I said, we're a bowling season. The closest bowling lanes are in Kingston. I think it's something that is worth for future discussions to see if it's something we can do. Obviously, we'll be able to get there every day. The transportation makes that challenging, but I do believe it's an exceptional program that we'd like to take a look at in the future as well. So for next year, obviously field one inside the track and then East Soccer Field. Getting recent 18 inches of snow does not help this. Frigid temperatures do not help this. So I'm a little concerned with the timeline. Initially, we were talking about possibly being on this go back in the fall, but that's going to be challenging. After living through a couple of these other projects, I realize there are setbacks or things that come up. So kind of preparing our fall people to, it might not be possible that we're already in the fall. Concerning on my end, I'm displacing 18. That's challenging for daily practice. Where you send the track kids to try to get workouts in when we can't use the track. And we're also using the east field as the west field, soccer field is also under construction. As we learned when we built the tax center, kids love piles of rocks, piles of sand, piles of dirt, and they will climb fences and things like that. So some of the security, is a concern to me. General safety is a concern to me about those spaces. But these are all meetings that we go through. We have construction meetings and we talk about that a lot. So I'm excited to be part of those projects. I really look forward to that. I know the kids are excited as well. So again, I talked about future plans with that East Field. So we'll have more of that as we go. Something I like to bring in next year. A lot of schools are going with this new field lining. It's called Turf Tank. It's a robot that lines your fields. It lines them perfectly. There's no deviation. While I love our guys do a great job in lining our fields, it does take a lot of time and it is challenging because the fields are not perfect. The robot takes that guessing out of it. So we're hoping to expand on that hopefully next year. It can be run to the BOE coaster, so we can get some money back on that. Brenda and I have a meeting next week to kind of talk a little bit about it. So many of our local schools are doing it. Hopefully get a demo here so we can all take a look at it. But I've seen what we can do and it's tremendous. Continued future discussions of the rec park. I know this is not something that everybody wants to talk about, but I'd like to keep it on our radar. Is there something in the future that can help with this funding source, or is there some agreement or something in the future that can help that improve? That's kind of interesting. Again, future planning for phys ed, elective courses. There are some courses that we kicked around in the past. I know at the high school, there's maybe doing some dance courses, maybe some other courses that are elective based that make sense in that world for physical education to offer some opportunities. I have a staff who would love to do it or willing to do it. Kyle and I have talked a little bit about it, but it involves planning and potentially expense and things like that. But I think it's worthwhile for discussion. Thank you.
A lot of this was done before I got here, so questions were done before she left. But part of the work the report and planning side is implementing new cybersecurity solutions to protect our email and link we can verify that email, filter them and send them again. And we're in the process of tackling the endpoint protection now and tackling the testing configures what we're working on both seats and to get that up and running. We're going to be leveraging our E-rate funding to update our hardware in our across our buildings to replace some switches. We have additional iPads for no road that we purchased through our smart schools bond act. So there's 70 iPads for this building to replace aging iPads and roll a bit more expansion. We're continuing to offer PD to staff to support tech initiatives as needs come up. We've been working with building leadership to develop what their staff need. And we're going to be replacing that end-of-life hardware that supports our phone systems coming probably this summer. It's about a 5-year life cycle on that, so it's trying to get it replaced, and that is not surprising.
How's it going for you so far?
Good. So I've learned a lot of people to meet, and I used to try to remember to show up to people. Again, I'm still trying to find the lay of the land. It's been great so far.
In terms of the smart schools funding, we could buy the financial that, so there's still more than you.
Do not release, I think we use about
Oh, okay. I was curious.
it's pretty huge for the project. Communication is also neat. Last year that we implemented use of Pirate Square, and I think it's gone well. I've heard anything from the key way to reach out to the community. So we're going to continue using Pirate Square to facilitate communications. We're going to be using the school website with dedicated links. So what Mike has offered for those who kind of handles our website is have maybe a dedicated website for the pack, or so it'd be like schools.com/ or tutorials, rather than having you buried and having to click a bunch of links to find something, to have more easy to navigate dedicated links. So once you increase the video content on our district YouTube and socials, because more people watch than read, so it's just going to reach a broader audience by using them. And we're going to continue maintaining that closer with both seats at a public information security institute.
Good evening. The reflection of last year's goals and legislative memo articles. From the past, present, future, adapting to the needs of the district, right on down to the employees, and keeping that as a part of making sure that the positions and the services of what meets the needs of the district. Not really how often you see that. Just first we come over and you see that they get what they need or the training they need. As far as goals for next year, I would say really ambitious, productive year I plan. From bringing up the systems to be code compliant, adding parts of, and we just said recently our building condition survey. We do those every 5 years. Trying to scale off what we can, make it part of our maintenance program, and keep it with capital. That's the way of doing things. To implement a more robust group debate between the maintenance program. That's really neat. It's something I'm doing right on from the roof right on down to the basement. And then going all the way to the purchasing of a new truck for our maintenance. That'll be replacing a truck that's over 20 years old. To floor scrubbers for our staff. So once again, we'll see a common theme between our buildings and also looking at our staff. So. Then the last thing, I think also, I'd just like to thank the board and all our staff for making my job easy. It's not always fun, but to me, it's exciting. If you take a look around and see our buildings are changing, I believe they're better than when I got here, and they continue to grow and these students, and that's fun. It's exciting. Thank you.
Right, so my reflection goes back to the interview process when I came here to Redwood. And I was asked about EV vehicles. And it really wasn't a thought in my mind that it would ever happen. And I said, I know they're coming down the line, but maybe it'll be after I'm retired, or I really didn't think I would live it, but here we are. And like Aaron said, we have 2 in service. They had bugs, and we worked all the bugs out of them. We figured out how to use them. We've been utilizing them on our runs. Last, I don't know, 2.5 weeks, we've had 0-degree temperatures, and the 2 buses have been on the road every morning, every afternoon, and with plenty of heat. The heat was always a concern from the beginning, but we learned how to treat them before we send them out, and it's been going good. We're starting to receive the rest of the buses that we had the grant money for. So I have 2 of the newer ones that arrived already. Another one should be delivered on Monday, and then the 4th one should follow that as well. So it's really coming to fruition. So for going forward, I'd like to expand on the EV fleet, but we have to see what kind of grants come available. My thought for the coming year is think about the schools on the outside, the private transportation that we do them on a Monticello. We go to East Warren. So those further schools, we need like a hybrid vehicle. So my plan is to try to purchase some hybrid vehicles that will make those further schools. With the modernization of our new transportation, that would help with the safety of the drivers. It would give them their own space. Plus, it would separate the mechanics as well. A lot of the school board had came by and did a tour of our facility, and reality, the drivers, if they need to use the restroom, if they need to get to their driver's room, they have to walk right past the mechanics. And the mechanics have their tools out. They have extension cords, hair hoses, and it's a big safety issue. And a more modern building would definitely help that out. So the safe space for the drivers, a safe space for the mechanics where they wouldn't get distracted from the drivers. And then I would also be able to do our training there. We would have a training room that would be able to fit all 50 people at the same time. Our offices were limited to confidentiality. We have 3 people in the office at all times, and it's really hard to have a personal conversation with a driver or monitor or office staff. They make fun of me because if I need to have that private conversation, they say, oh, come on, let's go to my office. We walk out into the parking lot and we find an empty school bus and we sit down and we have our meetings. So it really would be nice to have our own office space. And then, that's basically it. It's a modern facility would be a great move for transportation, and it would bring us up to the next level. And thank you all.
we will get the state
Sure.
to the hybrids also qualify in the ADEV mandate.
It would have to be all electric. Yeah, yeah, but, you know, we are still trying to do our part with the hybrid part of it. And we really need to look to see if there's more grants. And right now, we utilize all our grants. And the other thing too that I left out is with these new buses coming in, we have chargers set up already, and the chargers are all in place for 6 buses. There you go.
And part of the challenge is too, they have the mandate in place, but they haven't caught up with making the vehicles readily available. So the hybrids we're looking for are actually on state contract. So, but that's not an option for a fully electric vehicle right now. So the price of them without grant funding is really cost prohibitive still.
One question, how are we doing, as far as recruiting and hiring bus drivers, right? How's like our current staff? Do we have enough moving into the next school year?
We'd have to ask Tom and come to sports trips. The sports trips are.
Then it's been a challenge.
Yeah,
to get
it
drivers.
is a challenge. I feel like I'm in a good spot right now. I have a few people that are retiring, but I have a driver that's being trained. And it's a constant, it's constant. The more people I talk to, I always carry a business card with me, whether it's a waitress in the restaurant that, you know, is looking for extra work, or I met one of my drivers walking down the street in Redwood. So it's just having conversations with people. There's a lot of interest there, but you know, they all look around. So the bottom line, it all comes down to how much they can make an hour, what the benefits are. And we have some good folks, and, you know, we just try following up, and hopefully they come to Redwood.
There's some weeks where I need like 15 buses, you know, Monday through Saturday. And there are days where, you know, we have to adjust or get a later leave time, or on occasion put a couple of different seats on the bus, but Anthony's been great, his staff is great. I have about 300 trips maybe a year. To go somewhere. A lot of those are, like I said, they're doubles, so that counts as one. Every day we're going somewhere, and every day we're welcome to other schools here for events here.
Thank you guys. I'll try to be quick. I'm super excited about, somebody asked me how I'm doing.
How are you doing?
I'm having a ball. I need about 8 words on my part. So I inherited some of Larry's very cool goals, and I'm excited about where they're going and how we're going. Expanding the 30% New York initiative into breakfasts does not increase or give us any more revenue. They're not giving us any more money for breakfast items from New York. What I would like to do is expand our snack a la carte program to include New York products, which will drive our initiative, as well as increasing revenues. And also we can start to limit some of the junkier foods, although we've gotten rid of all the food dyes and stuff. We're still selling Fundings and Frito-Lay products. And what I'd like to do is still continue to sell them, but make them cost prohibitive next to our New York products. So you can buy Doritos if you want, but you're gonna pay $3 where you can get the New York chips for $2. The environmentally conscious products, we are still using plant-based serving containers in areas where we're not washing dishes or using plastic trays. I'd like to further that, start to eliminate some more of our plastics. I'm pretty hip to the fact that even though it says it's compostable, it may not actually be compostable. And there are also several grants I'm looking at to eliminate plastics, like specifically small grants specifically to eliminate plastics. I'm just getting into that, so don't ask me questions again. Let's see, minimally processed New York foods, including chicken meat, nutrient-dense products. The nachos that we have out today feature New York beef. That's what our kids ate today for lunch. They're sitting on top of New York chips covered by some food commodities, shredded and cheese. So, that's a pretty good deal that I'm proud of.
Super great to.
Oh, yeah, soups are let's see, so our food pyramid just recently got flipped upside down. I'm not gonna get political, but we are now able to sell Hudson Valley Fresh's whole milk products. I have some chocolate milk here, to sample. It's flying off our shelves. It's increasing our New York, initiative percentage, and it is increasing our revenues. See where else?
I read that chocolate milk is better for sports recovery than Gatorade. I didn't know that. But no.
Is it?
That-
I also think you can read whatever you want. Anyways, like, yeah, I can't stand the taste of skim milk, but yeah, and other people hate it. But I do like the fact that there are choices and you can empower people to make the decision that's right for them. That's cool with me. Let's see, we were gonna make new serving lines at Linden Avenue Middle School. Larry got anything all floated out, backed out. I don't know how relevant that would be when we actually get to the project. Scott, we have to replace the floor before we ever even touch that, and I think that's slated for December. So hopefully I'll be able to utilize the research and work Larry did, or come up with some new solutions. I wouldn't look for that until after we summer. We currently still work with Hudson Valley Food Pantry, PHP. We're still working with them. I've expanded that. I'd like to include as many words as possible. We know when we had that little scare with, it wasn't little, but we had the scare with some of our food-based welfare programs in America, that food pantries is really perfect. I realized then we had an opportunity to expand our reach. When we have holidays and we shut down, I have food with limited amount of shelf life, and I'd rather eat somebody than throw it in the trash. So we're doing a better job of that this year than we were last year. There was an anticipated increase in participation with the intro of universal free meals. It's real, it happened, and we're hanging. We are selling a lot more food to a lot more students, and pulling in a lot more reimbursement for it, so that's pretty cool. Last little note, is I'd like to create an annual farm to school showcase. I'd like to invite area businesses, area farmers, area producers in, something that I'm gonna try to roll out this spring, continue to go with, future years. And that would be in conjunction with the grant that Dr. Hayes and I applied for. I conspicuously did not include that because I don't want to count that chicken before it hatches. But if we were to get that, we could tie in our expansion of school garden program to become more self-sustaining, more self-feeding year round. I'd like to have a garden at every school. I'd like them to be able to be staffed and work during the summertime. If we were to get this food expansion grant, that would be something that we could forward. That's all I got. Any questions?
Your stacks.
Please, I won't throw anything like.
Good evening, everyone. So in planning for the 2026-27 year at the high school, we're implementing New York State and approved CTE pathway for welding and metal fabrication. Implementing the Winter Circle program, which we're very excited about. That provides students the opportunity to engage in year-long classes. They will actually be building a full race car from start to finish. And the program also includes visual arts and business classes. We are growing our residential construction and woodworking programs to ensure they align with future careers. Dr. Robbie.
Continue to build capacity of our faculty members and students to engage responsibly and ethically with artificial intelligence. As has been discussed in the prior meeting, expand our IB English for All program to provide options for students to demonstrate mastery with theater and also support our theater pathway. Enhance our visual arts department with additional digital equipment aligned with 21st century trends and continue to support all elective areas to maximize enrollment and ensure these courses align with the ever-changing world. That's it.
Okay, so looking at our 25, 26 goals, a number of them. So our new elective materials, support hands-on learning, we received our cricket machine this morning. So we have that. We have flight simulators now in Jen Malinsky's room. I believe we have 2 of those. She was able to get more materials for robotics to support that program. And we're still fine-tuning our piano lab with Mr. Cody. So we're on year 3 of improving the learning spaces. So if you look at the back of our cafeteria, there's more of a chill spot with couch with high top tables. We have a couple of air hockey tables up on stage. And then we've added high top tables to our hallways, and we're continuing with our classrooms, kind of getting away from that old armchair and more up to date desks students can write on, be dry on this board, move around. So continue with that. Our digital side is a little bit more difficult. We need town approval, and they need to run a bunch of different things, the light pollution, make sure everyone's okay with it. And then we're also trying to match what it looks like to the historical look of our building. So we're working on those 2 things. So still working on that. Continue academic house. Village. Sorry, village. We're continue the academic and social emotional work for ELL students. We're going to continue with a great program run by Liz Lowry, the Latin Culture Fair, which I was just told we're going to have alpacas this year. So we're going to do that. We're expanding our recess options, working with our staff to determine what equipment we need. Meaningful principal and development of delivery technology. So our team department do that. The new science standards, it was important that we updated our supplies to match what that curriculum is. Literacy resources and training to support our secondary literacy goals. That's something Amanda touched on, and she's really been great in supporting us with like the Wilson program, training for our teachers, especially those with IEP, students with IEPs. So we'll have more support on that. And then we are cross-site trainers. We'll have a cafeteria mural in the back. Instead of a big gray wall, we'll have a really cool mural that maybe you can something like that.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the works, and I'm really excited to be moving forward with Matthew Pleva to install a mural, with hopefully starting around spring break. We'd like to get paint on the wall while students are not in the building, so the pre-work can be done, and so that they're there for the more exciting work. So we're really excited that it's been a long time coming, and it has been a long time with a big brick wall in the back. So, so I'm going to talk about our goals for this coming year. We are in the middle of looking at our master schedule structure. Rolled out 4 years ago our block schedule, and we're working on it. We've had a lot of gains, and there's a lot that we like with the schedule. We are looking to improve something that came to us from the teachers is some more consistency within the schedule. I do think that from a budget perspective, that brings efficiency that we'll be able to obtain as well. So that's ongoing work, and what's been nice about that is we are all working together as an entire building. So it's a real collaborative effort with the teachers and the furniture and team leaders. So I'm working on that. We're going to continue to support project-based learning at LAMPS with additional materials in all content areas. It is time for us to get new textbooks in Spanish. It's been over 10 years since we looked at textbooks, and so world language is exploring choices for new textbooks. As Paul mentioned, year 3, we're looking forward to year 4, is continue to improve learning spaces with flexible classroom furniture throughout the building. And in general, improving the building appearance. I do believe strongly that the way that the building looks and privately our school does translate to student success, and how they feel about school. So I want to make sure that we're providing a space that they can feel proud of. So we are also, looking for materials and supplies for the digital and financial literacy programming that's part of the New York Inspires mandate. We're again looking to expand some resource equipment both inside and out. We are working with Aaron's office on the town, so that will be in place for next year. And Jen Lipsky is ordering a laser cutter, which is another way that students will be able to do some creative work with different types of materials. So, there are a few more things, as Paul mentioned, I'm fine tuning for the piano lab, more supplies that will be needed, so we're seeking those as well. And last, I just say, I did update it on my slide, but we're looking for increase in assembly funding. Assembly line is funny for just social programming, and that's to support the cultural responses, education. So not really increasing assembly lines, that is. But the budget line to provide assemblies, because they're really, we've gotten tremendous feedback from students that the assemblies were very impactful, and there's been such an increase in price for outside vendors to performance. So just trying to increase that slightly so we can continue to provide, and we do know that this will. Everybody.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about our reflection on our 25-26 goals for middle and elementary school and talk about the meeting 26-27. Since Stacy just mentioned the assembly budget code line and all the great things that they're doing in the middle school, I think it would be really important to know that in many of these cases, they invite our 5th graders over, and we get to team up with 5th and 6th graders over the assembly. We had Mikey Found about a month ago, I think, and we're able to get better presenters to cover some terrific topics. Some of these people are like nationwide. The fact that we can kind of share the cost, I think, also allows us to do a little bit more than we could on our own. So thank you to the middle school folks, thanking our 5th graders. As Chris and I reflect on our goals, I think we feel really good, a lot of pride around the things that we worked on this year in terms of making Mill Road this pre-K 5 field. I think our approach and our funding activities that we continue to expand on is going really well. We've also increased the number of students that participate in our Language Explorers program. That's for second language learners. As you all know, we also expanded the pre-K programs to 4 classes this year. That has been a tremendous success. So we currently have 66 students in the program. We have a very short wait list that we had in the fall, just from students coming in late, but we were almost able to offer to everyone that came forward, which is a major improvement from when we went to the lottery and only started with 1 class several years ago. So I think the growth in that program has been wonderful. And when we think about the students that are currently in our kindergarten classes that attended our full day pre-K, you can see, and they transitioned very well in September, and they are certainly ready for the challenges of kindergarten. One of the other things that we were able to do this year is to expand on the outdoor activities. We worked closely with facilities, we created support and increasing the pathway that connects to a lot of the elements, and it's now created a large loop around our campus. That pathway has given full access to our gardens to all students with any mobility challenges or anything else. It's also plowed in the winter time, which makes the sleigh riding hill and back in the road much more accessible, and our students really appreciate that. If you were to go out on the playground, even in really cold weather, we try to get outside. And our OTs, PE teachers, working with Kristen and I, to purchase some more things, some more like tricycles and things that are developmentally appropriate, that get our kids doing a lot more recess, so they don't complain about the cold, because it's like a bike gang out there. It's not crazy.
Because there's not enough fast bikes.
The last thing I would mention in terms of goals, you know how important the STEAM activities and embedding that into our curriculum instruction is by repositioning our classroom teachers to the STEAM position for grades 3, 4, and 5. We have now expanded many more opportunities for our students. She co-teaches the classes, so it could be science activities, could be math activities, but there's a lot more hands-on things happening in the STEAM room. And when we do our, community walkthrough in March, we're really hoping that some of the board members can see that room in full action now with the stuff. She's going to do a good job. Most of our goals are now next steps from the goals that we've had over the last couple of years. The first one there is expanding across grading and buddy activities. After tonight's meeting, I encourage you to walk into the hallway. There's a mural with 5 Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, and our students worked on those together with their buddy activities. So that's one of the 4th graders get together with a first grade class, or grade class gets together with 4th or 3rd grade class. We find those moments magical, and we think the activities that we do and the experiences that the students get, we get a lot of benefit from.
One of the other things we will hope to work on next year is deepening implementation of structured literacy across K through 5 with consistent progress monitoring. So it's finding that balance between having enough data and not over testing, right? Working with young students. So we want to make sure data is driving our instruction, but also that teachers have time to teach and they're not overworried about getting the assessment done. So we've used ESGI, we expanded it to our 3rd grade team this year, and so they're exploring to see whether or not it's an appropriate product for them, if it's something they want to continue with next year. And our teachers had a huge undertaking last year with the curriculum writing for literacy, and are living the first year of a full literacy curriculum map. They came out of the curriculum writing last summer really excited about what they created. And so as they've lived through it this year, Brian and I have asked them to really carve out time to stop and reflect, because it's really hard to remember what went well if you wait until June. So we've asked them to do that this year. We hope to do some more work over the summer to really shore up on their reflections from here. What will stay, what will change, what will be enhanced, and what needs to be added.
To piggyback on some of the things that Amanda in the high school and middle school both mentioned, our work and part of our goal is to continue to develop teacher expertise. So we work on math world, we work with our math consultant, and this year we're really focused on mathematical reasoning, exploring the grade K math program this spring. But in terms of differential instruction and reading specialties, we have a number of our special education teachers and reading teachers that are now trained in both junior and Wilson reading as well. So we're very excited about continuing to build capacity within our building, and again, it really speaks to the early intervention for students and getting them the type of specialized training that they need.
One of the other goals that came out of our strategic planning meeting in January was to create problem-based learning units that integrate multiple content areas and real-world problems. And specifically what our strategic planning team talked about was trying to make ties to the local community. So thinking about enhancing our current project-based learning and really thinking about how do we create it where kids are being presented with a problem that has to be solved through their project, and how can we make ties to what we have around us and the people and the resources, and really tie all of that together. So it makes sense in their life at, potentially their 1st grade level, but that they're thinking in that capacity. So we also talked about tying that to the new profile from the state and really thinking about when they get to the high school, how's that going to change assessment on their end, and what can we be doing with our problem-based learning so we can start assessing things that are going to change on their end.
And something we're really excited about is creating a dedicated outdoor classroom space. So we do have a pavilion out there now. It functions more of a picnic area. And so we really would like to design a space that is easy access for teachers, that houses the materials they will need when they get out there to teach a lesson. We've just kind of started thinking about design and location, but we've always encouraged teachers to go out and use the beautiful space we have, but the reality is, a lot of times that comes along with lugging 21 whiteboards and markers, and now, kids are forgetting things, and it becomes a heavy lift. And so we're looking to design a space that teachers can go and use on a regular basis, and really,
I think the outdoor learning is our counter to, some of the concerns we've discussed over the last 5-6 years with students that are maybe on like screens too much. And so we've taken a very careful strategic approach with the amount of technology that we implement through instruction every single day. But that's carefully balanced with like the hands-on activities in our state rooms, our gardening program. And what Chris is talking about, like this outdoor learning space for us, it would be a nice place for you to gather your class, but it would also be easy to extend to the artifact of the gardens. Well, it also provides, we try to go out, as I mentioned, with cold weather, we try to go outside even into the rain and things like that. But for students with different sensitivity, it's really nice to have like a covered space, and that could be like on a really sunny day to have more shade out there, or on other days where it's just nice to have some cover. So the outdoor classroom is really just like the final step of building something that we've been encouraging. So those are our goals. We're happy to answer any questions.
So there's something similar to lamps with the covered areas of plants. We were finding over that. If it goes to existing, however.
It has a lot of use. It's really.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So tonight is really the kickoff for our budget season. As Linda mentioned, on February 19th at our next board meeting, will be a preliminary update on the budget information we know so far. At that board meeting, we'll also need to adopt the secret for the capital project proposition. So on the ballot, in addition to the budget and our main vote, there will be a vehicle proposition, as Mr. Persio mentioned. The capital project, as the board agreed last meeting, will be the bus garage in addition to the welding infrastructure upgrades for the welding certificate program. And we do have 2 board vacancies this year that will be on the ballot. We will have 2 board meetings before we have to adopt the budget on April 9th.
Okay, so some important dates moving forward that we should consider. The budget workshop was today, February 5th. Community Conversations is coming up in March. That is March 5th, a month from today. Budget adoption is April 9th. Yes, okay, that's great. We will continue to invite the public in to our budget expo and our public hearing. That's May 7th. That's where we really highlight our programming, the things we offer our students, and it gives a really good look globally of what Red Hook offers as an educational program, but also we try to incorporate other areas so that you can see the full picture of what a student's journey is from pre-K through 12th grade and the things that they have the opportunity to explore and enjoy during their time here with us. The budget vote is May 19th. So those are the important dates. Mark your calendars, and I think this concludes our budget workshop. Any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You guys are working hard. Yeah, I'd like to send a very sincere thank you to everyone. This takes a lot of work. This takes a lot of thinking, and it takes teams of people in every single area, whether it's PPS, facilities, transportation, or many of the academic areas, and service, work. So it really is a very strong team that this district has So hats off to all of you and enjoy your evening.
Jake wants is the best part. I love how you guys all help each other.